A home sale can involve a large commission check, but many buyers and sellers do not understand who pays it, who receives it, and how it affects negotiation. Commission is not just a fee, it shapes incentives inside the deal. A real estate commission is compensation paid for helping a transaction happen. It may cover pricing advice, marketing, showings, negotiation, contract management, inspection issues, appraisal problems, and closing coordination. The key question is not only the percentage, but what work the fee actually pays for. Start with a seller signing a listing agreement. That agreement sets how the listing brokerage will be paid if the home sells. The money may come from sale proceeds at closing, which can make it feel invisible, but it still affects the seller's net result. Listing agreement matters because it changes what looks reasonable in this specific setting. In how real estate commissions work, the person may feel they are reacting freely, while listing agreement and brokerage split have already narrowed the path. The common misunderstanding is thinking one agent personally receives the entire commission. In many deals, the amount is split between brokerages and agents, and then reduced by expenses, taxes, marketing costs, referral fees, or business overhead. The headline percentage is not the agent's take-home pay. Buyer side compensation can also affect the deal. Depending on the agreement and local practice, the seller may offer compensation, the buyer may pay directly, or the terms may be negotiated in another way. The buyer should understand the arrangement before assuming representation is free. Commission affects incentives because payment usually depends on a closing. That does not mean every agent gives biased advice, but it does mean clients should expect transparency. Good advice should still protect the client when walking away is the better decision. Delay is not always disastrous, but it narrows the room to move. That is why this topic rewards early questions more than late explanations. Net proceeds matter more than the sale price alone. A seller may celebrate a high offer, but commissions, concessions, repairs, taxes, and closing costs decide what is actually kept. The commission belongs inside that full net calculation. A brokerage split explains why the headline commission can be misleading. The amount shown on a closing statement may be divided between two brokerages, then between broker and agent, and then reduced by business costs. The client should understand the fee without assuming one person keeps the full amount. Buyer and seller agent compensation often hides in the details of real estate commissions. In how real estate commissions work, it may sit inside buyer and seller agent compensation, so the warning sign is easy to miss until the consequence is already moving. The value of an agent often appears during problems. Pricing strategy is one part, but inspection disputes, appraisal gaps, financing delays, contract deadlines, and closing surprises are where weak guidance can become expensive. Commission built into sale economics deserves attention near the end of the chain. In how real estate commissions work, it can decide whether the outcome becomes manageable or turns into the more difficult version of the problem. The feeling around the decision is not proof, but it is information. A strong reaction often points toward the part that feels risky. The best reading does not stop at the outcome. It follows the path that made the outcome more likely. Commission should also be compared with transaction complexity. A simple sale between experienced parties may require less support than a difficult property with repairs, financing concerns, tenant issues, or unusual legal terms. The idea becomes helpful when it changes the next action. Ask earlier, compare carefully, document the fact, or pause before reacting. Commission can also affect negotiation psychology. A seller may resist a price reduction while ignoring the net result after fees. A buyer may focus on whether an agent is free, without understanding that compensation is built into the transaction somewhere. The useful question is direct. What service is being provided for the commission? Marketing, negotiation, pricing, paperwork, showings, problem solving, and closing support should be clear before the agreement is signed. The point is not to memorize a term. The point is to notice the moment when the term starts affecting real behavior. Different markets handle commission conversations differently, so assumptions can be dangerous. The safest path is not to rely on what a friend experienced last year. It is to read the agreement for the specific deal. For real estate commissions, the strongest protection is preparation before pressure rises. Handling real estate commissions early can prevent the messier version later, especially when agent splitting commission with brokerage is already becoming possible. Commission also affects pricing conversations. A seller may think only about the sale price, but net proceeds matter more. After commission, closing costs, repairs, and concessions, the amount the seller actually keeps can be different from the headline number. At the same time, commission should not be treated as automatic proof of value. Sellers and buyers should ask what work will be done, how communication will happen, and what support is included after an offer is accepted. In how real estate commissions work, this extra check matters because seller listing agreement setting commission can look simple until listing agreement and brokerage split are both included. Understanding the concept gives the person one advantage: the ability to slow down where the situation usually rushes them. The buyer side has its own concern. If compensation rules are unclear, a buyer may not understand whether they owe an agent directly, whether the seller is offering compensation, or whether the cost affects their negotiation strategy. Good agent value is often seen during problems, not during the easy parts. Inspection disputes, appraisal gaps, financing delays, and closing surprises reveal whether the commission bought real guidance or just access to listings. Transparency matters because commission affects trust. When clients understand how the agent is paid, they can better judge advice about price, concessions, timing, and whether to accept an offer. Commission usually begins with the listing agreement. The seller and listing broker agree on compensation terms, and the final payment is often taken from the sale proceeds at closing. That does not make the money invisible. It is still part of the economics of the transaction. The commission may be shared among several parties. A listing agent, buyer's agent, and their brokerages may all receive portions. The number people see from the outside is not always what one agent personally takes home after splits, business expenses, taxes, and brokerage fees. Commission can shape incentives. An agent paid only when a deal closes may be motivated to keep the transaction alive. A seller wants the highest clean outcome. A buyer wants the right property at the right terms. Good agents manage these incentives openly instead of pretending they do not exist. Commission discussions can feel awkward because people often meet agents during an emotional purchase or sale. But compensation is part of the professional relationship, and clear terms help both sides understand the service being provided. A good commission conversation should connect the fee to the work, pricing strategy, marketing, showings, negotiation, contract management, inspection issues, appraisal problems, and closing coordination. If the service is vague, the fee will feel vague too. The practical move is to discuss compensation early and in writing. Who is being paid, by whom, when, and for what service? Clear answers reduce confusion later, especially when the deal becomes emotional and every party is trying to protect their own outcome. A seller should ask what marketing, negotiation, pricing advice, and transaction support are included. A buyer should understand how their agent is paid and whether that compensation affects available choices.